What's good, everybody? Hopefully you guys are doing good. So today we are back for another video. In this video I'm going to be covering the executive order that was recently passed by Trump, as well as some other stimulus updates, and then at the very end I'm going to go over a few stock outlooks going forward, what we're going to expect. The markets open in about an hour and a half, so that's what we're going to cover in this video. Before we begin, this is my Twitter channel. I am very active on Twitter. If you guys are not already following, go ahead and follow. I'll put the link in the description below, but I post pretty frequently, and that's the best way. If you have a question or a video request, put it in the comments. That way I can respond to you quickly, and I show you guys if I get dividend payments. I put them here, and some other fun stuff that goes on. So make sure that you follow me on Twitter. That way you don't miss out on all the fun. Okay, let's go. Alrighty, so second $1,200 stimulus check could be coming for many that won't cover the rent. This is from CNBC, and as you can see, breaking stock market, making the biggest moves pre-market, Marriott, Eastman Kodak, Twitter, FedEx, and more. I'll go over that towards the end of the video. Alright, so what are some key points? Washington lawmakers ended this week at a political stalemate with regard to the next stimulus legislation. One area they reportedly agree on is a one-time $1,200 stimulus check, but struggling Americans may find that that money won't cover 1 month's rent in many parts of the country. Yeah, at the moment we have a stalemate. I have been watching the situation very closely, and I've been over 100 times what the main issue is. These guys can't agree on the details, how much they want to spend on the package. Republicans want about $1 trillion, Democrats want about $3 trillion, so they're probably gonna have to compromise somewhere in the middle. And we were hearing reports prior that this $1,200 payment was probably going to be more. At the moment, it looks like that's what they're talking about. It's a $1,200 payment. And yeah, for most people, that would barely cover the rent. Not saying one way or another, but just the fact saying we are going to probably need more than $1,200 for most people. Stimulus checks can't cover, I can't imagine living in New York City. New York, California, states that are very expensive to live in. I can't even imagine what it's like out there. Alright, let's continue on here. Let's see what we got here. This week, political impasse prompted President Trump to sign the executive order on Saturday. So he signed it on Saturday a couple days ago. I waited a couple days to see if we got any more news on the order, what the details are, because we kind of know what the facts are, but we don't really know the details. I got multiple links so we can try to figure out what exactly does this order do, what's included, all that good stuff. Okay, so what happened here is the executive order aimed at providing extra aid to unemployment benefit, extending the federal moratorium on evictions, deferring some student loan payments, and initiating a payroll tax holiday. So keep in mind, for example, with the student loans, it just says deferring. It's not forgiving, it's for deferring. So at some point that has to get paid back. That is that the unemployment fell to 10.2% in July. While that is an improvement, about 1 in 10 Americans can't find work. Yeah, that's not good. And that unemployment boost right now, it has been reduced. So before, it was like 600, 800, 600 a week was what we had before. That's what the Democrats wanted. However, Trump has kind of changed that a little bit. Democrats want to continue the $600 per week through January. Republicans proposed reducing it to $200 per week through September, followed by a 70% wage replacement through December. Trump's executive order passed on Saturday. It enhanced unemployment pay at $400 per week after the benefit expired last month, though this is likely to face legal action over his authority to do without having congressional approval. That's another whole legal thing. I don't know how legally this all works, but what Trump can do via executive order in terms of deferring or delaying taxes and the payments, we're going to have to wait and see. It's going to be a legal battle, what can and can't be done. Democrats have called for extending eviction protection, but in the House, stimulus legislation and another plan put forward by Maxine Waters, the House has voted yes to both bills. Alright, let's continue on here, see what other important updates we have to share with you guys. Like I said, this is all going to depend too on your situation. what exactly this applies if you are unemployed, all that good stuff, and if you're looking for a job and what you're basically available with at the moment. I don't know if the options are too good, but I'm hearing they're not very good. Here's what $1,200 won't pay a month rent. Well, where it won't pay. As you can see, yeah, mostly California, New York, parts of Florida, even Seattle. Seattle's pretty expensive. I've visited a couple times. I like Seattle, but yeah, Seattle's an expensive area as well, certain parts. Okay, let's continue on here. All right, here we go. Priciest counties: California, Virginia has few. Orange, yeah. See, I came from California. Orange County, very, very expensive. Look at that. Yeah. Don't miss that at all. That was too expensive. Although I was lucky, though. I lived at home and I was able to save a lot, so that helps out. So if you can live at home with the fam, help the fam when you can, that's probably a great option going forward. Let's continue. All right, cheapest counties: Tennessee, Mississippi, MT. I don't know off the top of my head what MT is. Illinois, Kentucky, and as you can see, yeah, mostly places on the East Coast. It's cheaper to live. Okay. Let me see. It's bugging me. What's MT? Montana. There you go. That's what it is. Montana. Okay, so that's what we have right now in terms of the check that is coming potentially. But we were hearing reports there's going to be more. We got to wait and see. Here we go. Then now we're going to get closer to what the executive order exactly covers. Trump executive orders, when do they come into effect? Things that we're all wondering. Because once I heard this news, I was like, there has to be more to it, and there's a lot more to it. The executive order was signed and 3-month memoranda issued by the president in New Jersey yesterday, which was on Saturday. It included a continuation of unemployment benefits agreed as part of the CARES Act, reduced by a third. So it was $600, and now currently it is $400, and states are asked to pick up 25% of the cost. Now, I'm not great at math, but 25% of 400, that's like 1 in 4, so that's $100. The additional $100. A payroll tax cut unpopular with many on both sides of the aisle. Protection for evictions and a freeze on student loan interest payments. Okay, let's continue on here. The executive actions, however, could be challenged, vetoed, and ultimately canceled, as there are legal questions. Yep, that's what I was saying. We have to figure out what exactly can Trump do and can't do, and we know Congress is probably going to have some pushback because that's what they do. Alrighty, let's continue on here. Here we go. So we had Nancy Pelosi speaking in a little bit. She said, "Today's meager announcements by the president shows how the president does not comprehend the seriousness or the urgency of the health and economic crisis facing working families. These policies provide little real hope for families." I told you guys, it's going to be a bumpy ride until the elections are over. We're going to have a crazy couple months here. Right now we're in August, September, October, November. It's 3 more months. It's going to be a lot going on that we have no idea what's going to happen. Alright, let's continue on here. Let me see if there's anything else we can get from this article. Chuck Schumer, obviously Democrat leader, he's concerned as well. Undermine unemployment, sick and elderly members of society. Okay, let's continue on here. Alright, let's see. So, here we go. This is good. Trump has not ruled out the possibility that Democrats and Republicans can finally come together and agree on a new stimulus bill when talks resume this week. I thought these guys were going on a recess, but apparently maybe the recess has been canceled or delayed a little bit because it looks like they're going to be talking this week. If something is going to get done, hopefully this week gets done so people can kind of plan accordingly and go from there. Saturday's executive order might not have sunk negotiations on a new stimulus bill deal. Here's what we know. Okay, scenario 1, a stimulus bill agreed. What happens next? Oh, here we go. Timeline number 1, the legislation passes next week. House votes August 11th, Senate votes August 12th, President signs on the 13th. These are the most likely scenarios if they do something, which, like I said, hopefully the sooner the better, but you never know. With the rate that things are going, a lot of uncertainty right now. Trump's executive orders don't stick. Trump signed 1 executive order and 3 memoranda to spur action. Okay. Scenario 3, talk stop, no completion of the executive order. What's been holding up the deal? Basically what we've been saying for every single video. They can't figure out what they want to spend on. They have to figure out what they're going to spend on. 1 trillion for one side, 3 trillion for the other side, and it's probably going to be somewhere in the $2 trillion range. They're going to have no choice. They got to do something. Why you got a $500 stimulus check this week? Okay, this was interesting. I did read this article, but I have not got $500. Did anybody get $500 this week? Let me know in the comments below, because I did not get it. Okay, paper checks. Here you go. Who received these checks? If you received the check, it may have come as a surprise. The reason? You may not have been required to file a tax return and use the non-filer tool on the IRS website to provide information on your dependent. Oh, here you go. So it's if you got kids. I don't have any kids, so it's not going to help me out. But if you got kids, maybe you got $500. I don't know, but that's what they're saying here. All right, next thing we got, can Trump approve it via executive order? It being the stimulus checks. That's going to be interesting too. Like I said, it will be a bumpy couple of months. He's going to want to get reelected and do whatever he can, and I'm not sure what he can and can't do, but we're going to find out. The courts are really going to test it to see what he can and can't do. This is from CNN Politics, which is not very favorable towards Trump. We'll just say that, to say the least. The bug, 1 million new cases in just 17 days. Trump's confusing executive order, and unfortunately the issue that's going on in Lebanon and spectators naming new VP names. Okay, let's continue on. Let's see what CNN has, because CNN, their point of view is going to be different, but that's okay. We need different points of view so we can ultimately figure out what is probably the truth, somewhere in the middle of it all. Trump's measure. The federal government is requiring states to pick up the tab for 25%, $100 of the as much as $400 additional benefit. And yeah, some states like California, they got a lot of debt. It's going to be, we got to watch how these things play out, because inflation's coming too, probably, from what I've been reading, and we're going to have a rough couple months. Millions of Americans who filed for jobless benefits also have drained several states' unemployment benefits trust funds already. 10 states have borrowed nearly $20 billion from the Treasury Department to cover their share of payments, which typically last for 26 weeks. Requires a new system. Because Congress has not authorized an extension of extra federal unemployment assistance, the state will set up an entirely new system to deliver the additional aid that they probably do not have, and it's just more debt. Evictions. Hopefully no one's going through an eviction. I can only imagine, with everything going on, having to go through evictions when you lost your job and all that good stuff and trying to pay your payments. Alright, so the original ban covered mortgages which were backed by federal funds. The nonprofit Urban Institute has estimated that memorandum just covered over 12 million households. So, I mean, that's not a bad thing. That's okay, I guess. Alright, no money is set aside to help homeowners or renters. So, with all this funding, something has to get cut out. They can't just keep on funding everything to infinity. We're going to have a currency that's going to not be looking too good. Not saying that right now it's looking too good, but it's going to be getting worse probably. At this rate, if we just keep borrowing and printing, inflation will be coming. The action calls for Housing and Urban Development and Treasury Secretary to identify any and all state and any all federal funds to provide temporary relief to renters and homeowners who are struggling to pay their mortgage and rent because of the bug. Payroll tax. Okay, this is very, very important, because this is something that most of us can relate with. A deferral, not a cut. So that is very, very, very important. So when we got those $1,200 stimulus checks, those were one-time checks. There was no tax. You don't have to pay it back. It wasn't deferred. It was one and done. But this payroll tax is deferred. So let's see what they tell us here. The payroll tax measure that Trump signed Saturday does not actually reduce the payroll tax. It defers the due amount for the portion of those taxes paid by employees. 6.2% for Social Security and 1.45% for Medicare. Through December 31st, it applies to workers whose wages are less than $4,000 on a bi-weekly basis, or about $104,000 a year. This is similar to Treasury's deferring the federal income tax due this date from April to July. The payroll tax would still be due. Yep, it would still be due. Trump said that if he is reelected, he would seek to forgive the levy and make permanent cuts to the payroll tax with powers to change tax lie within Congress and not the White House. An idea that's rejected by Congress. Okay. That's what we got to basically work with right now. Trump insisted the proposal would have zero impact on Social Security, even as he said he's looking to make permanent the deferral of the payment tax. He said Social Security would still be funded through the general fund, and he promised to protect the program. Alright, another point of contention has just occurred. Because if the tax rates are dropped permanently, Social Security will take a hit, which it's already taken a massive hit. It's already struggling. And from what I've been reading, by the time people retire in about 20, 30 years, the funds will probably no longer be available. That's just what I read. Obviously, a lot can change. We're going to have to wait and see. Student loans, an additional 3 months of forgiveness has been given. Currently, loan payments are paused and interest is suspended on federally held student loans until September 30th. Democrats have pushed for extending the bill for another year, making private student loans eligible. That's the situation with student loans. Hopefully you guys don't have too much in student loans, because the situation is not looking good. The interest and the return on investment, I'm not sure how much it's going to do for you right now. That being said, Trump's orders on the bug are confusing. They create confusion. It's from the New York Times, which also does not have a favorable view towards Trump. And let's see if we get any new information here. Also, too, this is important too. The hurricanes that are coming, I'm guessing that if the damage is severe enough, we're going to have more federal funding. The Fed's going to have to come in and help with those measures, because states probably already spending a lot on the relief going on with everything with the bug. Alright, let's see. Anything else? I think we're good with that on this. I'm moving on. Alright, we got news from Fox, which has a different point of view. Trump's payroll tax executive order likely worth $1,200 per worker. Trump directed a payroll tax deferral to run from September through the end of December. So like I said, even Fox confirms it's a payroll tax deferral. It's not permanent, but he's trying to make it permanent. But we could see if that comes to fruition or not. I think it's going to be in a couple of weeks. I think it's going to come to about $1,200 per person. Trump has repeatedly pushed for a payroll tax cut amid the bug, and including it in the four executive actions he signed this week. Alright, let's continue on. With respect to payroll tax, basically we're giving 140 some odd million people who work through this bug. They're heroes. We're giving them a $1,200 wage increase after tax. But it's not to be forgiven, it's just to be deferred. It's going to have to get paid back. Like I said. Oh, here we go. Ooh, this is good. Look at this. The Dow Jones future, we're in the green. NASDAQ futures in the green, and S&P is in the green. This has been changing. I have a couple links. I'm going to talk about the stocks that are going to be opening in about an hour and what we can probably expect. Alright, let's see what we got. So we went over, I think we were good. I don't want to go over the executive orders anymore. You guys can have an idea for it. Basically, it's probably going to get challenged, and who knows what part of it will be vetoed or overridden by Congress and what he can and can't do. And yeah, that's a horrible sight. People getting evicted and all that. Hopefully they can get back and have a sense of normalcy before the whole thing hit and everything is kind of going crazy right now. Alright, so I did mention that I had some stock things I wanted to cover here. This is this morning, fresh off the press, stocks making the biggest moves. Pre-market, Mirion, Kodak, Twitter, FedEx, and more. Kodak shares tank more than 40% as government loan is put on pause while allegations investigated. So here was the risk I was mentioning. Kodak had a huge increase. It was like $2 a share, and then once the deal was passed, it went up to like 30 a share, and people made a lot of money who got into it, and now it's been tanking. That's why I don't try to make that home run play. I just slow and steady. I don't want to keep my eye on all the time and see what's going on with the situation, especially with Kodak is not a stock that I'm very high on personally, so it doesn't fit my strategy. Check out the companies below making headlines before the bell. Basically, we just mentioned all of AT&T, Kodak, Twitter, Amazon, FedEx. Do you guys own any of these stocks? Let me know in the comments below. I do not. Oh, yeah, I own AT&T. That's a disclaimer. But that's the only one that I own. Yeah, I don't own anything else. I was thinking about doing Marriott before everything went down the hill, but now at this point, I'm staying away. All right, the last thing we got here, S&P 500 futures are flat to start the week as White House and Congress, they battle over a bug relief package, and that's going to also impact the stock market. If people have more money, who knows, people are probably going to be investing it, hopefully at least some portion investing in assets or something, but we'll have to wait and see. And as I showed you guys earlier, the markets are up slightly, but nothing crazy. It's pretty stable today. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens tomorrow. And what else? Anything else we got here? All right, here we go. So last week's gains come during a historically tough time for the market as August kicks off the worst 3-month stretch for the S&P 500. So August, September, October, according to CNBC, it's gonna be the roughest 3 months. Also back to school shopping and parents going back to work in September. Like I said, schools might open, they close again. I know some states, they are not opening phase 3 and 4. Some states are still in phase 2. And if you're in California, you're probably still in phase 1. Because last time I checked, everything is still shut down in California. Alright guys, I think I'm good for now. I'm going to leave it here. If you guys have any thoughts or comments, let me know in the comments below. As always, on Twitter, interact with me here because this is what I'm using primarily these days, and that's about it. Alright, that's gonna be the 10th video. As always, if you're not subscribed, don't forget to subscribe, and if you like the video, don't forget to give it a like. Until next time, peace.